All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? If you can give me a quick thumbs up and let me know that you can hear my voice and that the broadcast is coming through crystal clear, that would be great. All right, Miles, how are you? Excellent, John. How'd you do on your contest last week? I've been meaning to ask you. Morning to you, Armando, Brad. All right, so quickly, market's opening up here shortly. Another few seconds. Got a short on the YM forming here. That'll be the first trade of the morning. 33 up, too late. All right, that one came and went right at the bell. Too fast to grab. We'll have to wait. Was kind of hoping it would pop up and give us an entry, but it didn't. So we'll wait for the next one. Currently in a short on the pound Aussie. Got into a long trade here. Didn't get very far. You could see that it's been a rather range-bound morning dating back to the European session. Looks like it's trying to capitulate and roll over, but it hasn't been able to break through support at that 50 moving average. So let's just hope it does. Stay short here. It's trying to get below it. Trying to close below it here. Let's see if it can. Anyway, you could see that it got short at 82.84, targeting 70, 61, 53, and 45. And it probably got short at 82, since it was long. There would have been a stop and reverse adjustment at 72, which was a little bit below. Did it hit 72? Yeah. Well, 82, sorry. 82. Yeah, that moving average is at 73. Got my numbers mixed up. So anyway, it's short. Crude oil's already finished. We'll take a quick look at that. Let's look at unleaded. Don't forget we're in the N contract now. You should be in the July contract if you have not yet rolled over. And missing a really nice short trade right at 9 a.m. It had already gone too far and then came back with this small little long trade here, which hit its targets and one and done. Doesn't look like much, but hopefully you had enough time to grab that trade. If not, you would have been stuck in the blue, flipping over to yellow, which is now hitting its targets as it pushes lower. Just looking at the comments here. Sounds good, John. It's good to get away and do the things you love to do away from trading sometimes. So crude oil also just missing a really nice short trade, but then getting long and barely hitting its minimum target objective of 12 ticks. That counts. The second one also hit its winner if you missed the first one. And the third one hitting its, well, that one's a little bit too small. But anyway, the next two also hitting targets. So crude oil is pretty much done. And again, I repeat, energies have rolled over to the July contract. All right, heads up on the long trade now on the YM. The YM getting long at 596. And that one's targeting 617 with a stop at 567. YM is moving rather quickly. And that one went too far, too fast for me. I couldn't grab it. Hopefully you guys did, because that's a nice winner there. I tried to get my order in while I was telling you the setup there and wasn't able to get it in fast enough. It just hit target 3. So target 2 was 629, target 3 at 641. Anyone going to a target 4, that's at 653. Really nice trade. If you're paying attention to it, you had plenty of time to grab it. So the YM is one and done also. It's going to be a fast session. Bummer. I was hoping it was going to pull down and give it to me, and by the time I got my order in, it was already gone. The hazards of calling a trade room. I'm really good, Miles. Thanks for asking. Just looking at your comments here. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Good morning. Just kind of went through a bunch of our trade plans here, hitting goals really quickly this morning. I just want to remind you all to please give this broadcast a thumbs up if you like the free trade room. Let me know with liking, hitting the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And remember, we have a Discord channel now, our trade hacking club, that you're all invited to join if you have not done so yet. You'll find the link in the description notes of this broadcast. So you can see the pound Aussie has not been able to close below that 50 moving average yet, although it has tried. It needs to get to 82.71 before stops can be moved to break even. Did not get low enough. It got as low as 74. So it needs to get to 71. 3 more pips. It's trying. Markets are just moving really quick. You could watch this 4-point momentum bar in the NQ just to see how fast this market is moving. And definitely, it's like a drink too much coffee or something. But you'd have to go all the way back to here just to get to the open of the session. That's a lot of bars and 4 points. This isn't the smallest chart. A lot of range. You could slow this down. We could look at a slower chart, but these are already sizable trades. I haven't looked at a 5-point momentum bar. Let's check it out. This is an interesting chart because it uses the diamond level setup of the fast moving average crossing the slow moving average teamed up with the exhaustion dots in the balance line. So when you have a lot of range in a fast moving chart, you can slow the bars down by making the range larger. And you smooth the chart out some. Still pretty noisy, actually. But you can see how much larger it is. That's a 60 tick, 15-point target one at $20 a point. So that's $300 basically from entry to target one. So you could slow the chart down, but then you get bigger and bigger with your trade setups. And of course, then the risk gets larger and larger. But what makes this chart so interesting is how you team up the fast moving average crossing the slower one in relationship to the exhaustion levels and the balance line. That's a unique setup. Spotlight's the only thing in the history of the world that combines these concepts. Go figure. All right, let's see. Let's go to a 6-point bar because this is still pretty noisy. You could do a lot with this setup. I mean, the simple moving average crossover is like, traders have been using that for years. And the biggest problem, of course, is when it vacillates back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But you could also catch some huge moves. But when you start combining it with exhaustion levels in the balance line, and the right range, then you get some really nice trades, because you start getting confirmation from exhaustion and the balance of power in conjunction with the crossing over of the moving averages. And then if you look at some sort of an angle of ascension or descension of the lines, that also helps in weeding out the sideways stuff. But you can see how the slower bar really cleaned this chart up. But then now look at target one. It's 80. That's a $400 target one now. It didn't even get, well, it's almost there. Just got to money management now. But you could see on a fast moving chart, you slow it down and you put on some nice concepts and you can get some nice trades. Another thing you can do with this, which I think is another real powerful way to use it, but it takes a little testing to figure out, is if you open the calculator and use this maximum bars for setup input, it's set to 5, which means 4 bars to the right of the third dot, you could still get a setup bar. But if you made it more picky and made the setup bar actually have to happen on the third dot, or maybe 1 bar to the right only, then you get more quality setups and fewer setups and higher quality setups. So now when you look at it, and I'm just looking at this for the first time ever, you have a get in sync trade here at 8:30 with this one. Comes up and hits a perfect target too. I mean, perfect. You get another trade that probably, maybe it went too fast. Yeah, it did. That was only 4 seconds. So that one you could not have taken, even with a slower bar. Then you get this trade. That one you could have taken. And that one hits a target 1. Perfect target. That's a $300 target 1. And then you get this trade, and that one hits, just misses. No, does it hit it? I think it hits target 1 perfectly also. 0850, 0850. Doesn't get more perfect than 0850. Look at that. Maybe too fast, only 5 seconds to grab it. Probably couldn't get it. Still fast, even with the slower chart. This one you can grab because it comes back up. And that one, look at that. So every single trade is a winner by getting the right range based on the condition of the market. You kind of have to fiddle with it like I just did. And then by qualifying the trade, making it pickier so that it can only take a setup bar when the crossover occurs. And it doesn't even have to be a crossover. It just has to be an agreement. Like in this case, the fast EMA was already below the slow one. So it's an agreement with a short trade. But the setup bar has to be on the third dot or only 1 bar over. It can't be 3 or 4 bars to the right. And this cleaned up the chart and gave nothing but winners all the way through. Pretty cool, huh? This is an understated, often misunderstood setup in the diamond level spotlight that really needs more attention. And I'm going to start focusing on it more because you could see the benefits of it. When you get the automation package with this, you can then play with different relationships between different EMAs. You can test, different EMAs one to the other. This is using a 5 and a 21. Seems to work really well. But there are others, I'm sure, that work well also. So, and then of course you can combine it with the other. You can combine it, like if you don't want to miss these V-shaped reversals, which when they happen, they're amazing. And I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do this. I'm just trying to point out to you what you can do. You can turn on the original OSOB setups. So you can use your crossover setup down here at D10, but you could also turn on your histogram setups and your OSOB, the green, the pink, and the blue in conjunction with the crossover. And then you end up with that. But you also end up with this, right? You didn't have this before. You didn't have that before. It changes the sequence because all of a sudden you got trades you didn't have before. So, you test. It's still, if you look at all these trades, you only had the one loser. Still pretty good. This setup came before the crossover, right? Because the crossover would have happened, would have eliminated it because it was 2 bars to the right. We shut that down. So it just changed everything. But I'm just trying to point out to you, you don't need it. You can just stay with the white trade and nothing else. If you really want to focus on mastering one setup. But there's so much you can do when you start combining the capabilities of the diamond level spotlight. So not a single loser in there, and now it's in a long trade. Maybe that'll be the first loser. You could see why it missed this, because we took away setup bars that were beyond 2 bars to the right or 1 bar to the right of the third dot, right? It didn't really cross over. It wouldn't have happened here. Let's see, it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it would have been on the 4th bar. So if we would have kept it on the 4th bar, we would have had a setup here. But we took that away to give us a higher quality trade and less of a quantity trade. So let's just put it back to 5, which is 4 bars to the right, and I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, see, now you get that setup. Just came later. So really important that you understand your tools and how they work, especially if you've got the diamond level, because the diamond level is very powerful. And as long as it's been out quite a while, really I barely scratched the surface as to the potential of what it can do. I'm going to put that back to 2, though, because I like the fewer trades. It's good to show this on a NQ. I'm going to keep this at 6 points for now. 4 points is just too fast. What would be the equivalent of the momentum bar on Ninja Trail? Just a range bar. Urban Rockers, good question. So this would be, I don't know if I think it's a 6 range. I mean, if it's in ticks, you'd have to divide it by 4. So it'd be a 24. Maybe it's a 24 range. If Ninja's in ticks, I think Ninja's in ticks, right? So it would be a 24 range. 4 ticks to a point with the NQ. So however many ticks there are to a point, that's how you figure it out. And a losing trade. Didn't quite get to money management on that one. Oh, it was bound to happen. And look at the YM's been just kicking butt. This is the one that got to the goals of the strategy. You had the squeeze zone preventing a nice winning trade here. A losing trade, a winning trade, a winning trade. Markets are really moving this morning. Down 420, 430 points. Yeah, so Urban Rockers, you would a Ninja Trader range bar is the equivalent of a TradeStation momentum bar. A momentum bar is a type of range bar, and that is the type that Ninja uses. So all you need to do is get the range right. So it would be ticks. So a 6 point range bar on TradeStation, a 6 point momentum range bar is the same as a 24 range on Ninja. Giancarlo, if the 200 EMA is pushing down on the 50, is that considered the squeeze zone as well? No, it's not. Unless, I mean, give me an example and we'll look at it. It's really, the 50 is pushing on the 200. So, I mean, they could be pushing on each other, I suppose. Yeah, sure thing. You could see I've got an automation on here that's not set up the same as. Let's take a look at what that's showing us. Okay, because of the max bars for setup. Let's see. And is it the. Yeah, let's try that. Let's take a look. I'm just curious. 8:45. Oh, I see. There we go. Now you can see the automation firing off some of these trades. This one here at 8:30 and 58 seconds, and then that one, and then that one. Oops. And it probably has a power of quitting 3 is my guess, and not using the first target. Let's change that for the heck of it. Let's just watch. So let's just not put any conditions on the power of quitting here. And let's give it a target. Let's give it a target 1 and a target 4. Why not? Just for drills there. Now you can see it firing off on all of them. There. Pretty cool. Here we go. All right. Just for fun. Well, you're welcome, Giancarlo. If you want to show me an example, if you have a chart you're looking at, I'd be happy to pull it up. Again, if you're just joining me, welcome. I see a lot of people coming on. In about 20 to 25 minutes, I will close this session and then reopen it again for the crude oil report. And again, if you're just joining, I see more people have joined. Don't forget, we are now in the July contract, the N. The N is in Nooney contract. By the way, pound Aussie has gotten close enough to money management where I think you really need to lock in. If you haven't gone to break even yet, break even is at 71. It's gotten as low as 71.5. So, I mean, I guess you can wait until now. It's only 2 ticks away from 7.1. I don't know. I wouldn't play with fire. I'd probably move my stop to break even at this point. Just saying. And Lionel is in our Discord channel, Trade Hacking Club, making a comment that the cryptos are selling off, and they sure are. And that is break even on the pound Aussie for sure, and target 1. So target 1, make sure you take your 25% off. It seems like the trade today has a larger trade and a different trade than the one I'm showing here. So Kevin, who's calling trade today, is using a different chart. You can see the Trade Hacking Club chat popping up. So yeah, you just got to call your own trades. Although no, it looks to me like you hit target 1 there based on your, I think you might have a typo. Look at how you just hit target 1. Kevin's showing me his screenshot. Looks the same as my chart, but it's 71. I think you put in, or 70. You put in 61. You better double check those numbers. I don't know. Kevin's chart might be a little different than mine. I see a short at 74. Oh, he put his short in at 79. Huh. Oh, well. If you're following Kevin, just follow Kevin. But it looks to me like it hit target 1. Oh, he adjusted. All right, well, whatever. Sorry, got all kinds of chats going on here now. If you look at the 377 tick chart for crude, the 200 EMA was pushing down on the 50 at around. All right, let's take a look at that. Lionel, are you in the trade room? Lionel is commenting. All right, here's the 370. Whoops, did I choose it right? No, no, I didn't. Where is it? There. Okay. And 750 exchange time, I'm assuming, Giancarlo. So you could see there are no squeeze. The squeeze is not happening. The squeeze is going to be against the 50, first of all. So it's not going to be on long trades. It's going to be on short trades. The 50 is coming up from below. So it's going to filter out short trades against the 50 that are inside this zone going down, which I don't see any of those. Understood? So far, all those setups are long trades. So the 50 is coming up to the 200. If there was a short in here, it would filter that out. It hasn't. Let's see. No, I don't see any of those. This filter has to do with the chop zone because you're in the chop zone, so you can't trade up against the 50 when you're below it going long. That's a different filter. Okay, good. You know, filters are a double-edged sword. Sometimes they work. Sometimes you wish you didn't use it because it prevents you from a winning trade. Here's a squeeze zone filter right there. You can see the little plus sign is in here. Sets up here, but then the histogram comes up and gives you what would have been a white trade that gets filtered out and saves you from a loser. So it's great when they work. Let me make these entries larger so we could actually see them better. Let's make them really big for us old folk with tired eyes. There we go. See, now you can see. So the preliminary setup here, you need the histogram to confirm because it's a white trade, but it's gray because of the squeeze zone. This is what the squeeze zone is designed for, is when the space between the 50 and the 200 is narrowing. But the way the code is written, it will even prevent trades when you have a wide zone. Like you don't see it here because there is no setup, but you can see it's wider. And it's not really, that wasn't the intention of the filter. But the code doesn't distinguish the intention. It only looks for the 50 pushing down or up on the 200. So with that in mind, if we go back to that, I think it was the YM, this trade here, this isn't really the intention of the squeeze zone because look how wide the 50 is pushing up to the 200, right? But there's a lot of space. There's really nothing being squeezed. So this was never the intention of the filter. But somehow in the development of the strategy years ago, the code was written in such a way that all situations where the 50 is pushing up against the 200 will prevent shorts. If it's pushing down against the 200 will prevent longs, regardless of the space between it. It's still the squeeze zone filter, but that's where, I mean, look at that was a great trade, right? And it was perfect. Almost missed the target by one tick because that's never the intention of the filter. So, I mean, I show it in gray. You could still take the trade if you really understand the strategy, or you can just not take them. But the intention of the filter is when the space is narrowing and the 50 is pushing up to that apex where it's testing the 200. It'll either roll over back down, flatten out and stay narrow before it decides what to do, or cross over. And in that situation, it keeps you out of trouble. Like right now, it's starting to narrow. So a short in here, it's going to get squeezed out. It won't give you the setup. But it's important to understand the strategy beyond the dots, because the dots help us interpret the strategy. See, there's a squeeze zone. Still not a big squeeze. There's still a lot of space in here. But the code doesn't distinguish the space. It only sees that the 50 is pushing up and the 200 is above it. See? So you have to remember the strategy exists, and then all the dots and all the code was designed to help us interpret and use the strategy. So the better you know the strategy, probably the better off you are. You literally can turn the calculator off and trade the strategy if you have your exhaustion dots in your balance line and you know how to draw your targets like so. You really don't even need the dots on the chart. Anyway, counterpunch works the same way. You went long at 750 and was stopped out. Well, the only thing I would say at 750 is if that's a tested time that you've tested. I've never looked at trading it that early. I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's just something I haven't looked at. So you're talking about this white trade. I'm not sure which trade. Were you using Spotlight or Counterpunch? Because I'm not sure what long trade. Wait, is this a different day? No, it's today. I'm not sure what trade you're referring to. 750, I only see short trades. Unless you're not on exchange time. Yeah, let me know. So now there's a long on the pound Aussie. Pound Aussie with a long. That's at 86, by the way. Don't forget, we key level adjust around the fives. So 86 would be the long on that. Didn't get there yet. Got to 85. Yeah, so CPX2, I was looking at Counterpunch Trader. It's still going to be the same setup apart from key level adjustments. It's really a matter of if you're on exchange time or not, because I don't see any long setups at 750. So I don't know where you're located and what you have your chart set to. But we always refer to exchange time. So the crude oil trades in New York. So whatever setup bar you use, you need to put it in New York time so that I know what you're talking about. Because if you're in Chicago, 750 is not the same, right? The 748. Yeah, those are all short trades though. This is all the. Did you say you got short or long? Oh, you didn't say. Oh yeah, you went long at 750, but I don't see any longs. I don't see any longs at 750. I see shorts. The long is a white trade here. And are you only using green trades and nothing else? See, everything's closing below the signal line. So, yeah, I just don't see any long trades. Are you on the July contract? Are you on N? Clearly, you can see all the bars are below the signal line. You're not going to have any long trades. Oh, wow, Roger. Way to be persistent. Good job. Yeah, Giancarlo, I'm a little confused by what you're talking about because all the bars at that time that you mentioned are below the signal line. 850. Yeah, that's a big difference. So are you only using green bars? I mean, I'll set this up in a way that looks like yours, but I don't even see any long trades at 850. I see the purple one at 848. And that's not a mistake. I mean, by the way, if you have a setup on there, there's no mistake. It just didn't win. At 850, starting at 850, that would have been the first trade, unless you're just using green. You know, if you're only using the greens and you turn off the purple and the white, the setups might look different. I'd have to do that. If that's what you're doing, I could take a look for you. But the way this is showing, the purple got long, stopped and reversed to short, and in two trades, you know, depending on how many positions you're trading, should have been done with two trades. And three trades because the white trade also, that stop held and that one came up and won also. So if you're using are you in TradeStation or are you on Ninja? Because I don't see a green trade for you to get in sync with. Like this green trade here, that you don't get in sync with. For one, it would have stopped out. And for two, there's a short setup that would have triggered in. Yeah, so on Ninja, you might have different setups. So that would then explain why our charts look different. Because I don't have the green trade where you say. But you did not miss a filtered trade if that's what you're worried about. And hopefully you're able to get the white trade if you even had a white trade. Ninja, the charts are different with Ninja versus TradeStation. So you just got to trade your own charts. But I can't look back at what happened with you because obviously I don't have Ninja. All right, more people joining. Welcome, welcome. I'm only going to be here in this session for another 7 minutes, and I'm going to close up and reopen. I'll reopen a new session, so be ready just to jump back in for the crude oil report. I'll need to set up everything for that. Give me a few minutes once we finish this one. Yeah, no, you're good on the filter. You did not miss the filter. The filter, remember what I said, it's trading in the opposite direction. If the 50 is below pushing up to the 200, it's going to filter out the shorts that happen inside of that zone. Missing an entry on the pound Aussie by a couple fractions of a pip there. Some of you may have been filled if your broker filled you. There's no way to control that, but technically 86 was not yet hit on TradeStation. So Lionel brings up a good point. I was just thinking I would take a quick look at something here while we have a few moments. Yeah, so here, check out the Bitcoin futures. This is what's happening. I showed this yesterday in our trade hacking club. This was very problematic to me. You have higher highs being made, but the high trend on the chart 5 times higher, basically a weekly chart, is already trending down. Right? Because 5 days a week, 5 times higher, there's 5 days in a week. That's basically the same as a weekly chart. And then you had the counterpunch giving short setups, and it's flirting with its 50 moving average as that's flattening out. And then, of course, the capitulation. And how far down will it go? Will it find support at its 200-day moving average? So then it had me, what really alerted me to this was the weekly chart, which is finding support at its weekly 50 moving average. But do you think the weekly 200 moving average? Look at how counterpunch gave the setup right there. Now, if you're able to short Bitcoin, that's one of the problems I have. Maybe if you have a MT4 broker that lets you trade Bitcoin against currencies, you have a way to short this. Or if you want to short the futures, but I don't even know. This is very expensive and low volume. I mean, it's enough volume, 18,000. It's growing. But this looks very toppy to me. Doesn't it look toppy to you? It looks like a head and shoulders, right shoulder, head. I mean, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. I mean, this is just all basic stuff. There's your neckline. Whoops. I can draw it. Yeah. Getting broken and gapping down. This is just this week. And the third target is sitting right on the 200 moving average. How's that for a coincidence? And you could see the high trend on the weekly chart rolling over. So this is like 5 weeks. The fast trend on a 5-week chart, if you had one, would look like that rolling over. So that had me selling. I got out of all my crypto before this mess. So this is a good chart to use just as a signpost in the road to help you avoid hazards along the way. Be looking to get new positions in my crypto. Not sure I'm ready to do that yet. I mean, you could start dabbling, but it looks like we may get a close below the 200, and the 200 is starting to curl down, and the 50 is diving down. And that 50 will probably come down and meet the 200. I mean, the question is, will it happen sideways? It could turn and go back up, I suppose. But this looks like, look at the spread in velocity on the fast chart on the 5 times higher. You know, the fast trend on the 5 times higher chart. That's what this indicator tells us. So I would not be looking to pick up positions yet. Although if you could have grabbed some at 30,000, that's probably a good number, because ultimately it's going to go higher, I think. But I think if you're nimble, I have a feeling it's going to test down in here based on that weekly chart. I could be wrong, because it could actually find support at its 50. You can see it did not get through the 50. It stabbed down. So far it's sitting on top of it. I mean, that could be all she wrote. It may not go lower. Picking up a little bit at these lower prices, you know, I don't know. I'm holding out. I want to see it come down and then grab. Also, this is maybe at the 50% level, depending on how you measure. So it's probably a fib number in here where it's finding support on too. I mean, 30,000 might be a good number to pick some up. Be nice if we could chart some of the others like Ethereum and Litecoin, etc. Again, if you have an MT4 broker that lets you trade cryptos against other currencies, I might be a little concerned about how solvent they are, though. Could get ugly, maybe, for them. Something to be concerned with, too. Does global financial ring a bell to anybody? Anyway, thought I'd point that out. All right, I'm going to end this session. I will see you guys back in here in a few moments. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to kick you guys out, and then in a few minutes, you come right back in, and we'll do the crude oil report. So I hope you enjoyed today's session. I'll see you in a few moments.